Hey there guys, and welcome back to 1908. This game is, let me look this one up. We are in on May 26, 1908 now. This is the Giants playing against the Cubs once again. Take a quick look at the standings. As you'll recall, the last time these two teams met, which was just a couple days ago, the Cubs wound up winning. Chicago now 4.5 games back. One game winning streak, but they're not as close as you might think. In the American League, of course, it's all about Cleveland, St. Louis, and Philadelphia, with the Red Sox a distant fourth, and it's not that far back. So we'll see what happens in that American League, but right now what we care about is whether the Giants are going to be able to beat the Cubs again. So we'll see what happens. Glad to have you here with us, and yeah, we'll see what goes on in this one. First batter up here for the Giants is Fred Tenney. Tenney's hitting 305. He's going to be facing Jack Feaster, and I hope I'm saying that name right. 3.13 is his ERA, 261 batted against average, which is not great. I know it's small, but the roll of the dice there is a 43 for a 29. It's a comebacker over to Feaster, who throws to first for the first out, one away. That'll bring up Larry Doyle now. Larry Doyle is hitting 245 here for the Cubs, or for the Giants, my apologies. And his roll is a 62 for a 12. There is a little E-roll. This one pops up. And it's going to be a 16, which is within that range. So it will be changed to a 21. That's an error on the first baseman chance. And that brings up Mike Donlin now. He's hitting 367. He's hitting the lights out all over the place. And Mike Donlin now to face Jack Feaster. So runner on at first base here for the Giants. Big question that we have, of course, is do we hit and run or not? And we probably should. Feaster does have, or Doyle, I'm sorry, has that 11. And the rule is a 62 for a 12. And it's a good thing we do. That would have been a double play ball otherwise. Instead, it's a ground ball to second base, and Evers fields it and throws to first. Doyle goes to second. There are two outs, and here comes Art Devlin. Devlin's hitting 299, 25 driven in. And his roll, a 46 for a 27. It's a ground ball to third. Steinfeld fields that cleanly and throws over to first for the out. And so with that, we go to the bottom of the first inning, and it's going to be Johnny Evers here for the Cubs. Evers will face Joe McGinnity. McGinnity, the Iron Man, has a 7-2 record with a 2.38 ERA. Pretty good considering how poor he was in real life in 1908. He's had some good luck. Evers rolls a 16 for a 26. It's a ground ball to second. Doyle fields that and throws to first, one away. Here's Jimmy Sheckard. Sheckard rolls a 12 for a 25. Another ground ball to second, and Doyle fields that one easily and goes to first. Two gone, and here's Frank Chance. Chance hitting 309, rolls a 35 for a 22, changed to 19. And that's going to be a ground ball to third. Devlin fields that cleanly and throws on to first base. We go now to the top of the second. Still no score, no hits, no nothing. Here is Cy Seymour for the Giants. His roll is a 22 for a 7, and that's going to be a single to right field. That'll bring up now Spike Shannon. Shannon's hitting 243, and I'm already thinking maybe we need to lay one down, so we'll bunt here with Shannon. And the roll is a 44 for an 8, and it's a bunt back to Feaster, who throws over to Evers covering at first base, and Seymour moves up to second. So there's one away here for the Giants. Here's Al Bridwell with a runner in scoring position. Bridwell is driven in 15. And his roll is a 22 for a 7. Make that 16. It's a base hit to right field in front of Schultz, and that scores the runner. That now will bring up Tom Needham. Needham up there because the Giants catcher is injured. And so there's not too much else you can do about it. So up comes Tom Needham in a situation to bunt. And it was either Needham or Snodgrass, believe it or not, who was the other catcher, but he only appeared in about 3 games in real life, so we went with Needham. And Bresnahan, of course, going to be out, I think, for about a week and a half. Needham will bunt. His roll is a 16 for a 26. It's a bunt to the first base side. Tenney fields that, flips over to Doyle, covering behind him at the bag, and Bridwell goes to second. So 2 away, and here comes Joe McGinnity. Joe, of course, hitting 065. And the roll 54 for a 45. Fly ball to center field. Howard is there underneath that, and he will make the catch for the out. We go now to the bottom of the second inning, and it's a 1-0 lead for New York. Up comes Wildfire Schultz. It's average 213, and he rolls a 61 for a 32. Fly ball to right field, and Donlin has that for the out easily. One away. Here's Harry Steinfeld. And Harry rolls a 22 for a 7, and that's a base hit over to right field. Steinfeld, of course, the answer to a trivia question, which is in Tinker to Evers to Chance, who played third base. It was always Steinfeld. Didn't have quite a poetic last name, unfortunately. That brings up Del Howard. Howard hitting 417, so you're probably asking us what we're doing bunting with him, but I do think it's the right call here. We will bunt with him and try to get Steinfeld to the scoring position. And it was the right call. That roll is a 14 for a 43. There is a little E roll, so we'll check that one out. And the roll is a 31 out of the range. That's going to be a bunt, good bunt to the left side. Devlin fields it, throws over to Doyle, covering it first. And Steinfeld moves to second. So with 2 outs, here's Johnny Kling, the catcher, with a chance to add to his RBI total. And the roll 13 for a 14, and McGinnity gives up a walk. And so that'll bring up Joe Tinker. McGinnity's given up 19 walks. He's struck out 38, so he doesn't give up a whole lot of walks. 85 innings pitched already, and of course this season not really that old. Here now is Joe Tinker. Runners on at first and second and 2 away. And Tinker's roll is a 54 for a 45. There is a little E roll. And it's a 44 out of the range. It's a fly ball to right. Donlin has that for the out. And we will go now to the top of the third inning. And the Giants hold on to their 1-0 lead. It'll be Fred Tenney here for New York. Tenney so far today 0 for 1. And he rolls a 34 for a 44. And there is a little E roll. Let's see what that does. The 33, so it's out of the range. It's going to be a little fly ball over there to center field. It's going to be caught there easily by Howard for the first out. That'll bring up Larry Doyle. Still 1-0 Giants. Kind of a quiet game so far. Doyle rolls a 26 for a 27. It's a ground ball to third. Steinfeld fields that, throws to first, and there's 2 away. Here's Mike Donlin. Mike rolls a 56 for a 34. There is a little E roll again. And it's a 56 again, so it's out of the range. A little pop-up over to the shortstop, and it's going to be shortstop Tinker making that catch for the out, and that'll do it for the top of the third inning. And so we go now to the bottom of the third inning, still 1-0 lead for the Giants, and still a close one. Here comes Jack Feaster up against Joe McGinnity, and you don't like the pitcher leading off, but that's what they've got. And ooh, look at that, rolls a 66 for a 0. The next roll is a 56 for an 11. That's a single to left, and then Feaster, of all people, ends up getting a stolen base out of it. So the pitcher on at second base, nobody out. Here's Johnny Evers. Evers has driven in 13 so far this season, hitting 273, and he's got a golden chance here. And his roll's a 64 for a 14, so McGinnity gives up the walk. That'll bring up Jimmy Sheckard. Sheckard's hitting a lowly 240. You know that they're going to bunt. The question is whether Feaster's lack of speed is going to hurt them. So we'll see what happens. Roll 34 for a 44. It's a good bunt to the right side. Tenney can only field it and flip over to Doyle behind him, and the runners move up. And that'll bring up Frank Chance, and that'll bring in the infield. Chance hitting 307, the big power hitter. You don't really want to bunt. The question is, do you want to walk him or not? It would bring up Schultz behind him. And sort of doing a quick comparison in these cards, I mean, there's not really that much of an advantage to pitching to Schultz again, other than the possibility of that double play. So I think we will do that. We'll go ahead and pass Chance, so we walk him. And look at that, the roll was a 66. So we will issue the intentional walk, and that will allow McGinnity to live to another day. Infield will come in, try to cut off that run at the plate if there's not a double play. And here comes Schultz. He's hitting only 212. Schultz will... trying to think if he wants to bunt or swing away in this situation, and that really is a thing to consider. So one of the things I'll tell you about this, we'll take a second to think about this. In Skeetersoft NPIII, having a slow runner on third base and bunting doesn't really do that much of a disadvantage. The thing that hurts you is striking out. Right? If you roll a 13 and he only has 2 on his card, the 13 means that the base runner on third will be called out trying to steal home. So I think we will bunt here with Schultz. Kind of a surprising decision, but we'll do it. And the roll is a 22 for an 8. Would have been a base hit. Instead, it is a good bunt over to the left side, and Devlin grabs it and throws over to Doyle for the force out at first base, but a run scores, and so Schultz does drive one in, and that makes it a 1-1 ball game. Here comes Harry Steinfeld, and you probably want to pitch to him instead of Howard, who's hitting like 4 something or other. So we'll pitch to Steinfeld, 1-1 the score. And the rolls of 53 for a 19, changed to 17. It's going to be a single to right field. One scores, and another one is going to score as well. It makes this a 3-1 ball game, and Steinfeld makes it all the way to second. So he comes through with the big base hit, and Donlin, good fielder in right field, still not able to prevent that from happening, and that makes this 3-1 for the Cubs. Up now comes Del Howard. Tell you, the Cubs, if they can do some good damage in this series, will really turn things around. Howard, like I said, hitting .417. And his roll is a 23 for a 32. It's a fly ball over to right field. Donlin is camped underneath that, and he has it for the out. We go now to the top of the fourth inning, but the Cubs came up with 3 in the bottom of the third. And it'll be Art Devlin up here for the Giants. Devlin, again, hitting .297, right under 300. Up against Jack Feaster. And the roll 43 for a 29. Comebacker to Feaster, who throws to first. There's 1 away. Cy Seymour up next. Seymour is hitting .230. And the roll is 65 for a 35. There is a little E-roll, of course. And it's a 31, which is out of the range. It's a pop-up over to the left side. Steinfeld has that for the out, and there's 2 away. Spike Shannon comes up next. Shannon today, he bunted last time up, and his roll 54 for a 45. Fly ball to right. Schultz has that one easily, and that'll do it. So we go now to the bottom of the fourth inning. And it's a 3-1 lead here for the Cubs. Johnny Kling will lead this off. Johnny's rolls a 66 for a 0. And a 61 for a 6. Now there's a chance of a home run because of McGinnity. But the roll's a 54, so it remains a double for Kling. That'll bring up Joe Tinker with a runner on at second base, nobody out. And we'll let him swing away, I think, with a 3-1 lead. His roll's a 62 for a 12, and he strikes out, so it doesn't really matter. 1 away. And here comes Jack Feaster again. Single last time up and stole a base. Jack's roll is 63 for a 30. It's a fly ball to left, and Shannon has that for the out. 2 away. And here comes Johnny Evers with 2 outs. Bottom of the fourth inning. 3-1 lead for the Cubs with Kling on at second. Rolls a 13 for a 14, and so McGinnity's given up 4 walks in this game. Unusual for him. He hasn't given up that many before, and that'll bring up Jimmy Sheckard. Sheckard's roll 52 for a 27. Ground ball to the third baseman, Devlin, who goes to the bag himself. And that'll do it for the Cubs in the bottom of the fourth. They end up with nothing, but they do threaten. We go now to the top of the fifth inning. It's still a 3-1 lead for the Cubs. Now, it might loom a little bit large, but this Giants team is a good team. We'll see what happens. Here comes Al Bridwell. Roll 54 for a 45, but there is a little E-roll. It's a 66 that is out of the range, and they wasted one. So it's a pop-up over to right field, and Schultz has that easily for the out. 1 away. Here comes Needham. Needham's roll is a 64. You can actually see that better than me. For a 38, changed to 23, and that's going to be a swinging bunt. Kling throws wildly to first, and that puts Needham on easily. That'll bring up McGinnity, and he's going to bunt. So the Giants will try to steal one back here. Roll for McGinnity is a 25 for a 9. Would have been a base hit. Instead, it's a bunt to the left side, and Steinfeld has that. Throws over to Evers covering at first. Needham moves up to second, and there's 2 away with Fred Tenney coming up. Tenney is driven in 24, hitting .301, having a good season. And his roll 55 for an 8, so it's a comebacker over to Feaster, who throws to first. And that is all she wrote. We go to the bottom of the fifth inning now. It's still 3-1 Cubs. Here comes Frank Chance. So the Giants have only 2 base hits. They've had a couple runners, but they haven't been able to get them in succession. And here comes Chance, who rolls a 61 for a 37, changed to a 38. That'll be a ball. Chance today 0 for 1 and was walked intentionally. His roll is a 12 for a 25, ground ball to second. Doyle has that and throws to first. There's 1 away. Here comes Schultz. Schultz today 0 for 1, and he bunted earlier. His roll is a 36 for a 33. And the roll after that for the little E is a 35. So it's a pop-up over to second. And Doyle catches that for the out. There's 2 away. Here comes Harry Steinfeld. He's 2 for 2, 2 singles, drove in 2 last time. That bizarre play. And he rolls a 24 for a 13. And so down he goes. We will go now to the top of the 6th inning. And it remains a 3-1 lead for the Cubs. Up is Larry Doyle. Doyle's 0 for 2 today, but he did reach on an error the first time up. The roll is a 26 for a 27. That's a ground ball over to Steinfeld, who throws to first, 1 away. Mike Donlin up next. Mike rolls a 36 for a 13 and strikes out. There's 2 away, and he looks fantastic striking out. The prototype of Babe Ruth. Art Devlin now. And Art rolls a 15 for a 10. That's a single to center field, so he gets his base knock. Only the 3rd of the game now for the Giants. Here comes Cy Seymour. Now, Devlin does not have that 11, so we won't take that big chance. The roll here for Seymour is 35 for a 9. Seymour, I'm sorry. And that's a base hit, infield hit that allows Devlin to go to second. And now the Giants with something going on up is Spike Shannon. Runners on at first and second, but with 2 outs, top of the 6th. Shannon this season hitting 241. Today is 0 for 1 with a bunt. And his roll is a 65 for a 35. There is, however, a little E. And it's a 13, which is within the range. So the Cubs will get their 3rd error of the game. This is changed from a 35 to a 20. It's going to be an error on the second baseman Evers, and that loads them up now for Al Bridwell. Bridwell is driven in 16, and he's not necessarily the big slugger you want up, but you'll take any chance you can get. He's 1 for 2 today with a single, drove 1 in. And his roll is a 64 for a 22, changed to an 18. That's going to be another single for him that goes through shortstop, and that'll allow the runners to advance 2 bases. And now we have runners on at first and third. So the Giants with a big comeback here in the top of the 6th inning, and that makes this a 3-3 ball game. I told you have to watch out for them. New York now with 5 hits, the Cubs with 4. 3 errors for the Cubs, none for the Giants, and that's where the Giants have had the advantage. Here comes Tom Needham. Needham today 0 for 1, and he bunted once, hitting nothing, absolutely nothing, and he rolls a 32 for a 26. That's going to be a ground ball over to the second baseman, there you are, Evers, who flips over to Tinker. And with that, we go now to the bottom of the 6th inning, and it is a tie ball game, 3-all. Here comes Del Howard. Howard is 0 for 1 with a bunt. His roll 36 for a 14, and so he gets the walk. Number 5 given up by McGinnity. That'll bring up Johnny Kling. I'm trying to say his name before I can say what he's going to do. He's going to bunt. And the roll 55 for an 8, and that's a bunt back to McGinnity, who throws over to Doyle covering at first, and Howard goes to second. So 1 away. Here's Tinker with a chance to drive 1 in. And look at that, his roll's a 66 for a 0. Next roll is a 32 for an 11, and that's going to be a single to left. But the runner thrown out at home is it wasn't quite fast enough. Tinker ends up on second base after stealing a base with Feaster up there, but there's 2 away. Jack singled once and stole a base, and then flew out to left the second time up. And Tinker on at second base in scoring position represents the potential go-ahead run. And the roll is a 13 for a 13, and down he goes on strikes. And so that does it for the Cubs. We will go now the top of the 7th inning. And this has been a really close game and a somewhat tense game. It'll be Joe McGinnity, the pitcher, up for the Giants. McGinnity today 0 for 1 with a bunt. And his roll is a 51 for a 23, changed to a 36. That'll be a ball. The next roll is a 56 for a 34. There is a little E-roll. And it's a 54. It's out of the range. So it's a pop-up over to the left side. It's going to be playable for Tinker, and he has it for the catch, 1 away. Fred Tenney comes up now. So they've turned it around, top of the order. Tenney rolls a 46 for a 13 and strikes out, and there's 2 away, and here comes Larry Doyle. Doyle today 0 for 3, reached on an error, and then grounded out to third base twice. His roll 66 for a 0. And it's a 52 for an 8, so it's a single to left center field. And Doyle finds a way to get on base, and that brings up big old Mike Donlin. Runner on at first base, and Doyle has that speed, so the Giants are going to hit and run here, try to steal a run. Rolls a 14 for a 43, and that's going to be a fly ball over to left field. Checkered will be under that one for the out. And we go now to the bottom of the 7th inning. It's a 3-3 tie. Here's Johnny Evers. Evers is 0 for 1 today. He walked twice, hitting 273. And the roll 36 for a 33. Little E-roll afterwards of 24, just out of that range. There's a pop-up over to the right side, and Doyle, the second baseman, grabs that for the out, 1 away. Up comes Jimmy Sheckard, who's 0 for 2 and bunted once. Hasn't hit the ball out of the infield, and he rolls a 45 for a 14, and so he'll take his base on the walk, and that brings up Mr. Chance. Now, the Cubs are going to play hit and run here. Chance is 0 for 2 and was intentionally walked once, hitting 305, and he's got power potential. And the roll is a 35 for a 22, and so Chance is hit by the pitch. Not what McGinnity wanted to do there, certainly not deliberate, I think. That'll bring up Schultz with runners on at first and second, and this is where you have a question. Schultz hitting only 210. Do you swing away or do you bunt and leave it up to Steinfeld? And I think you bunt here. I think that's the percentage play. And the roll is a 26 for a 32. It's a bunt over to the left side. Devlin fields it and throws over to Doyle, covering at first. And there's 2 away here. Bottom of the 7th inning, 3-3 tie. And runners on at second and third. And here comes Harry Steinfeld. Harry today 2 for 3, hitting 271. He's driven in 20, and 2 of those came today. McGinnity, not pitching so well, has walked 6 and has given up 5 hits. And the roll is a 41 for a 28, a ground ball over to shortstop. Ridwell throws to first for the out, and Iron Joe got out of that one. And so we go to the top of the 8th inning, and it is still a scoreless ball game, and that is 1908 for you. That is definitely what 1908 is like. Art Devlin comes up. He is hitting an even 300, 1 for 3 today, so it fits. His roll is 64 for a 13 and strikes out. There's 1 away. Feaster, 3 strikeouts and no walks. Here comes Seymour. Cy rolls a 61 for a 32. It's a fly ball to right field, and Schultz is camped under that one and has it for the out. 2 away, and here comes Spike Shannon. Spike rolls a 52 for a 27. That's a ground ball to the left side. Steinfeld, the third baseman, has that and throws over to first for the out. And so we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. It's still a 3-3 score. Here comes Del Howard. Howard's hitting 385 now, 0 for 1 today. He walked and bunted once. He's also out trying to advance home. His roll is a 42 for a 22, changed to 21. That's going to be an error on Tenney, the first baseman, as he booted that ground ball that was hit towards him, and so that puts Howard on at first. Howard does have an 11, which is important. Kling, however, hitting 203, so the question again is, do you do a hit and run or do you bunt? You always want to look here, so you have 144 and 131. You're looking to see if there's anything extra, and there's not any extra 31s on that card. Tells me it's probably a better idea to bunt than to do a hit and run. And so the roll is a 42 for a 38, and that is a strange bunt. So it's a bunt over to Devlin, the third baseman, who has to go to Tenney, the first baseman, with it, but he takes so much time that Howard is able to scamper around to third base. Now, that is what I would call a rare play. That's a play that I don't think I've ever really seen before. Yeah, I'm not sure what the best way to explain that one is to you, but that's exactly what happened. So with 1 out, there's a runner on a third base. The infield will come in. Up is Joe Tinker, and this is where you really have a question, because if you wanted to bunt him home and get that run home, you need to bunt now. Otherwise, if Tinker makes an out, then you've got 2 away for the pitcher spot, and you can't bunt anymore. So I think we will bunt with Tinker. The infield, of course, will come in. That's what kind of has to happen. This is 1908 for you. Most other seasons, I wouldn't think about this. And the roll is a 61 for a 27. That's a foul strike. We do it again. Oh, look at that. The next roll is a 66. It would have been an extra base hit. It's just going to be allowed out. And the next, it's a 14 for a 6. I'm sorry. It's a bunt to the right side. Tenney fields it, flips over to Doyle. They get the out at first, and there's no chance to get the runner at home. And so Tinker does kind of the oddest thing that you would imagine, which is he bunts home a run, and he bunts home a run in really kind of bizarre fashion. But what would have been an extra base hit ends up turning into the RBI to put the Cubs on top. 4-3 now the score. And that came after that other bizarre bunt that allowed the runner to go from first to third. Here is Jack Feaster again. Bottom of the 8th inning. And Feaster rolls a 52 for a 27. It's a ground ball over to Devlin. The third baseman throws to first. And we go to the top of the 9th inning. The Cubs 3 outs away from getting their second in a row against the hated Giants, and it's Al Bridwell to lead this off. And Al rolls a 52 for a 27. That's a ground ball to Steinfeld, who throws to first, one away. Needham is an awful hitter, and so we'll put Fred Merkel in there. Merkel's pinch hit a couple of times. He's got 10 plate appearances, the youngster, hitting 400. We haven't had him in the field yet. He can play just about anywhere. And his roll 23 for a 26. That'll be a ground ball to second. Evers fields that and throws to first, and there's 2 away, and the Iron Man is going to come out. And this is where the questions can be asked, right? Who do we want to put in? Probably not Snodgrass. We'll put him in later if something happens. It'll be Buck Herzog coming into this game. Buck Herzog has not really been a starter so far for the Giants, mostly due to my own managerial incompetence. So here comes Buck in a big position. And his roll is a 55 for an 8, and that's going to be a single, and then he is caught stealing. And of all ways for this one to end, for this to end on this caught stealing is certainly going to cause a whole bunch of controversy, which is the question I've asked before, which is, so what should you do in this situation? Should you play it safe? Should you say we don't want to attempted steal? Because it's really easy to do that. You just click here, no steal attempt during plate appearance. But is that the right thing to do? Do you want to take away the possibility of a steal if the runner got on base? Now, if you were playing with the other system, with the so-called jump system, the big question is, would you send him? So we've had a whole bunch of strange things happen in this one. The Cubs win this game 4-3. It's a complete game victory for Feaster. He'll go to 7-2. McGinnity goes down to 7-3. It was a battle of the big pitchers, and the Cubs came out on top in the end. But man, oh man, in terms of playing Skeetersoft, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of controversy over this one. The Giants lose this one 4-3 on a very bizarre bunt, and another bunt that probably would have been a double if we'd swung away. And then the Giants end up losing out in the very end on a stolen base due to lack of managerial input. So love to know what you guys think about this one. Do you think that that was the right call or not? It's always fun and it's always controversial in 1908, I'll tell you that. That's going to be it for today. I'll talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.